Today is our id. Volume 5, Book 58, number 269, narrated by Anas bin Malik. When Allah's apostle arrived at Medina, he alighted at the upper part of Medina among the people called Bani Amr bin Auf, and he stayed with them for 14 nights. Then he sent for the chiefs of Bani an-Najjar, and they came carrying their swords. As if I am just now looking at Allah's apostle on his she-camel with Abu Bakr riding behind him, on the same camel, and the chiefs of Bani an-Najjar around him till he dismounted in the courtyard of Abu Ayyub's home. The Prophet used to offer the prayer wherever the prayer was due, and he would pray even in sheepfolds. Then he ordered that the mosque be built. He sent for the chiefs of Banu an-Najjar, and when they came he said, "O Banu an-Najjar, suggest to me the price of this garden of yours." They replied, "No, by Allah, we do not demand its price except from Allah." In that garden there were the following things that I will tell you: graves of pagans, unleveled land with holes and pits, etc., and date palm trees. Allah's apostle ordered that the graves of the pagans be dug up and the unleveled land be leveled and the date palm trees be cut down. The trunks of the trees were arranged so as to form the wall facing the Qibla. The stone pillars were built at the sides of its gate. The companions of the Prophet were carrying the stones and reciting some lyrics, and Allah's apostle was with them, and they were saying, "O Allah, there is no good excel the good of the hereafter, so bestow victory on the Ansar and the emigrants." Volume 5, Book 58, number 270, narrated by Abdurrahman bin Humayd az-Zuri. I heard Umar bin Abdulaziz asking As-Sa'ib, the nephew of An-Nimr, "What have you heard about residing in Mecca?" The other said, "I heard Al-Ala bin al-Hadrami saying, Allah's apostle said, an emigrant is allowed to stay in Mecca for 3 days after departing from Mina, that is after performing all the ceremonies of Hajj." Volume 5, Book 58, number 271, narrated by Sahl bin Sa'd. The Prophet's companions did not take as a starting date for the Muslim calendar the day the Prophet had been sent as an apostle or the day of his death, but the day of his arrival at Medina. Volume 5, Book 58, number 272, narrated by Aisha. Originally, 2 rakat were prescribed in every prayer. When the Prophet migrated to Medina, 4 rakat were enjoined, while the journey prayer remained unchanged, i.e. 2 rakat. Volume 5, Book 58, number 273, narrated by Sa'd bin Malik. In the year of Hajjat ul-Wada, the Prophet visited me when I fell ill and was about to die because of that illness. I said, "O Allah's apostle, I am very ill as you see, and I am a rich man and have no heir except my only daughter. Shall I give 2/3 of my property in charity?" He said, "No." I said, "Shall I then give 1/2 of it in charity?" He said, "O Sa'd, give 1/3 in charity, and even 1/3 is too much. No doubt it is better to leave your children rich than to leave them poor, reduced to begging from others. And Allah will reward you for whatever you spend with the intention of gaining Allah's pleasure, even if it were a mouthful of food you put into your wife's mouth." I said, "O Allah's apostle, am I to be left behind in Mecca after my companions have gone?" He said, "If you should be left behind, you will be upgraded and elevated for every deed you will do with a desire to achieve Allah's pleasure. I hope that you will live long so that some people will benefit by you, while others will be harmed. O Allah, please fulfill the migration of my companions and do not make them turn back on their heels. But, we feel sorry for, the unlucky Sa'd bin Khawla." Allah's apostle lamented his death in Mecca. Volume 5, Book 58, number 274, narrated by Anas. When Abdurrahman bin Auf came to Medina and the Prophet established the bond of brotherhood between him and Sa'd bin Arabi al-Ansari, Saud suggested that Abdurrahman should accept half of his property and family. Abdurrahman said, "May Allah bless you and your family and property. Guide me to the market." So Abdurrahman, while doing business in the market, made some profit of some condensed dry yogurt and butter. After a few days the Prophet saw him wearing clothes stained with yellow perfume. The Prophet asked, "What is this, O Abdurrahman?" He said, "O Allah's apostle, I have married an Ansar woman." The Prophet asked, "What have you given her as mar?" He, that is Abdurrahman, said, "A piece of gold about the weight of a date stone." Then the Prophet said, "Give a banquet, even though of a sheep." Volume 5, Book 58, number 275, narrated by Anas. When the news of the arrival of the Prophet at Medina reached Abdullah bin Salam, he went to him to ask him about certain things. He said, "I'm going to ask you about 3 things which only a prophet can answer. What is the first sign of the hour? What is the first food which the people of paradise will eat? Why does a child attract the similarity to his father or to his mother? The Prophet replied, Gabriel has just now informed me of that. Ibn Salam said, He, that is Gabriel, is the enemy of the Jews amongst the angels. The Prophet said, As for the first sign of the hour, it will be a fire that will collect the people from the east to the west. As for the first meal which the people of paradise will eat, it will be the caudate, extra, lobe of the fish liver. As for the child, if the man's discharge precedes the woman's discharge, the child attracts the similarity to the man, and if the woman's discharge precedes the man's, then the child attracts the similarity to the woman. On this, Abdullah bin Salam said, I testify that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah, and that you are the apostle of Allah, and added, O Allah's apostle. Jews invent such lies as make one astonished, so please ask them about me before they know about my conversion to Islam. The Jews came, and the Prophet said, What kind of man is Abdullah bin Salam among you? They replied, The best of us, and the son of the best of us, and the most superior among us, and the son of the most superior among us. The Prophet said, What would you think if Abdullah bin Salam should embrace Islam? They said, May Allah protect him from that. The Prophet repeated his question, and they gave the same answer. Then Abdullah came out to them and said, I testify that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah, and that Muhammad is the apostle of Allah. On this the Jews said, He is the most wicked among us and the son of the most wicked among us. So they degraded him. On this he, that is Abdullah bin Salam, said, It is this that I was afraid of, O Allah's apostle. Volume 5, Book 58, number 276, narrated by Abu al-Minhal, Abdurrahman bin Mutim. A partner of mine sold some dirhams on credit in the market. I said, Glorified be Allah, is this legal? He replied, Glorified be Allah, by Allah, when I sold them in the market, nobody objected to it. Then I asked Al-Bara bin Azib about it. He said, We used to make such a transaction when the Prophet came to Medina, so he said, There is no harm in it if it is done from hand to hand, but it is not allowed on credit. Go to Zayd bin al-Arqam and ask him about it, for he was the greatest trader of all of us. So I asked Zayd bin al-Arqam, and he said the same, as Al-Bara did. Volume 5, Book 58, number 277, narrated by Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, Had only 10 Jews amongst their chiefs believed me, all the Jews would definitely have believed me. Volume 5, Book 58, number 278, narrated by Abu Musa. When the Prophet arrived at Medina, he noticed that some people among the Jews used to respect Ashura, that is 10th of Muharram, and fast on it. The Prophet then said, We have more right to observe fast on this day, and ordered that fasting should be observed on it. Volume 5, Book 58, number 279, narrated by Ibn Abbas. When the Prophet arrived at Medina, he found that the Jews observed fast on the day of Ashura. They were asked the reason for the fast. They replied, This is the day when Allah caused Moses and the children of Israel to have victory over Pharaoh, so we fast on this day as a sign of glorifying it. Allah's apostle said, We are closer to Moses than you. Then he ordered that fasting on this day should be observed. Volume 5, Book 58, number 280, narrated by Abdullah bin Abbas. The Prophet used to keep his hair falling loose while the pagans used to part their hair, and the people of the Scriptures used to keep their hair falling loose, and the Prophet liked to follow the people of the Scriptures in matters about which he had not been instructed differently, but later on, the Prophet started parting his hair. Volume 5, Book 58, number 281, narrated by Ibn Abbas. They, the people of the Scriptures, divided this Scripture into parts, believing in some portions of it and disbelieving the others. C. 1591, Volume 5, Book 58, number 282, narrated by Salman al-Farisi, that he was sold as a slave by one master to another for more than 10 times, i.e. between 13 and 19, Volume 5, Book 58, number 283, narrated by Salman. I am from Ram Hormuz, that is a Persian town. Volume 5, Book 58, number 284, narrated by Salman. The interval between Jesus and Muhammad was 600 years.